It actually just began because in my own community, I was observing that we were getting hacked by various groups, cybercriminal organizations. Our local high school actually had a phishing attack happen with our educators. And because of the phishing attack, the attacker was able to get into our school infrastructure. And based on that, I realized that a lot of cybersecurity is very reactive. People take action after something bad happens. But I thought that an educational initiative would motivate people to take proactive action so that nothing bad happens in the future. So that's really what started the whole journey when I was 14 years old. It started as me going into my former elementary school and saying, hey everyone, I think this is an important problem and you should worry about it and think about it as well. And then I realized that it wasn't just one school that needed this education, but it was the whole community writ large. Nobody was really talking about personal security. So then I started giving curriculum to educators and going into more schools. Anytime I wasn't in school myself as a student, I was in another school teaching about security, and that's how my passion really formed inside me. My mom works in the science field, and my dad has a background in mathematics and forensics, and definitely having those dinner table conversations where we would talk about things like digital crime or fraud really got me interested in who are these people that are doing these malicious things online to everyday citizens. So that was definitely, the family and background factor definitely played a role. But also just curiosity and interest. I would say never be afraid of going for something that you're curious about just because who you are or what people think you should be doing. For me, I was always interested in scientific questions or things that had to do with computers in general. I remember being the only girl in my electrical engineering class when I was probably in the 4th or 5th grade. But even then I had questions about where does energy come from and how do we have chips and what are all these technologies that are important to us. So from a very young age I was interested in creating websites and designing, and I think once I realized that computer science was so interdisciplinary that you didn't have to just be a hacker with a hoodie in a basement to resemble what security was like. When I realized that people who like art and fashion and design and psychology, everyone is also important to technology. That's when something clicked in my brain as, oh, I can also be involved in this field as well. Why do I need to care about personal security? It seems like it's probably makes life more inconvenient for you to set longer passwords and have more secure mechanisms in place for your accounts, have two-factor authentication. Even when I go to talk to professionals, the question is, why should our company care about security when we have a whole number of other priorities going on? And I totally get it. I myself understand how difficult and sometimes inconvenient security can feel. But I also think that we should never be reactive, and that's what security normally comes down to, is it's not a question of if you'll get hacked, but when you will get hacked. And just realizing that fact makes you think about all the proactive things that you could do to put yourself in a good place to reduce the risk. Just like when we sleep at night, we lock our doors, or when we leave to go to the grocery store, we lock our cars. It's a simple physical mechanism, but actually we don't translate a lot of those behaviors digitally. So getting people to translate those behaviors into the digital sphere is really what hopefully is the message that I hope to drive home. Women less inclined to stay with a career in technology. Oftentimes things like, in the middle of your career, you might want to take a break to care for your family. Oftentimes they find it really hard to come back into technology after that and continue their career. So my mission with GirlCon in general is to foster a safe community where we can talk about these really real conversations in technology in a space where the girls are also super young. You can spread the message when they're young and their brains are really moldable. So when they're in middle school and high school, that's when we should really be starting to push this messaging of, look at this really exciting field that has an entire community associated with it. I think really that's what did it for me. Is I was pretty nervous to start a career in technology, like where do you even begin? But when I formed a community and when I saw other women who were also doing this and saw that they came before me, that's when I was really inspired. And I said, oh my gosh, there's 50, 100 other women who I could look up to, who I can talk to, ask questions to. That's when I was really excited about it. So with GirlCon, I think that's what we're hoping to do, is to get women in all different parts of technology into the same room so that younger women can look up to them and ask any questions that they feel would make them excited and happy. In that we've had technology at our fingertips from the very first time we knew how to say our ABCs. And we became the generation that when we do have something on our minds, we just Google it, right? We can immediately riff off an answer to the internet, get an answer back, we ask questions, we get answers back in milliseconds. And I think with security, oftentimes Generation Z asks these questions, but oftentimes the companies are not transparent or there's not clear answers. And that's where I think the change needs to happen, where we should foster more transparency, more trust between companies and the users of these technologies, where companies should be held accountable and provide this information about, here's how we're using your data, and here's the security mechanisms we have in place for you, and here are our core values as a technology company. So that's what I hope the future of technology resembles, is kind of with these Gen Z-esque vibes, I guess, of curiosity and transparency and authenticity at the table. One of my professors used to say, security is seen as part of the plumbing because it's such a hard job. It's tedious. Oftentimes you're looking through thousands of logs in order to find that one log that looks suspicious or fraudulent. And I think what artificial intelligence can provide is a technology that reduces all of that noise, that really helps pop up those signals so that when something dangerous or suspicious is happening, we can, find that out faster than we ever did before. So I'm actually very optimistic that AI will bring a lot of innovation to security. Also just in helping us pen test and security test a lot of technologies so much faster. No longer does an engineer have to sit and run a pen test for an entire day. They can pen test 10 different devices in the span of 1 hour. And that's a massive, step change from where we were before. On the side of the risks, I think we have to have people thinking about, okay, where is this data going? What kinds of data are we giving the AI agent access to? Because just like a human, right, when you onboard into a new company, you get access controls placed. Like, okay, you can view this file, but you cannot view this other file that's top secret. But when we let agents free into these corporate environments, it's not always the same, and we have to make sure that the agents also have principle of least privilege, and we're applying a lot of the fundamental security practices with AI agents as well. Taiwan, in so many facets, Taiwan is really like the center point for which AI is able to impact so many lives. And the reason for that is obviously chips and producing 90% of the hardware that runs these AI models and trains these AI models. So I think we're already in such a good place to start impacting the conversation globally. The other piece is that Taiwan sits between the East and the West in terms of culturally. And I think that helps bridge the divide in the tech sector and helps bring a new opportunity for students in Taiwan to have innovation capacity beyond what we've ever thought possible. If you can prompt it, you can build it. We're living in an era where with AI models, if you're able to put your thoughts into words, you can build the next technology, Fortune 500 company, big, global massive enterprise. All you need to do is have the idea and prompt the model to get you there. And so what I recommend for students today is to get familiar with the AI models. Start using these models and understand what can the models do, what can't they do, where should the human element be plugged in. For instance, I think very quickly in using the AI models, you'll realize that there's still an element of human connection that you can't really get with the machine. And that's where we have to continue practicing our empathy and our kindness and curiosity. Nobody will make these sort of business-human relationships that we have today. And I think we can, learn to work with the models instead of have the models, replace the human element. And that's where I think the real magic will come.